Taiwan, I'm Eric Gao, bringing you the news from here in Taiwan and around the world. Amendments to Taiwan's gender equality laws are coming into effect on Friday, which is International Women's Day. Joyce Dunn joins us live in Taipei with the details. Joyce, what exactly are these new measures?
Some considerable progress here in Taiwan and its fight towards gender equality. 3 amendments are coming into effect to better protect victims against sexual harassment. And it's no coincidence it's happening today, as you mentioned, on International Women's Day. Women's rights has been in the spotlight here ever since last summer, when a string of Me Too cases came to light, spanning across the political sphere to schools and to the entertainment industry. And now these changes to the law are hoping to protect all victims of harassment, not just women. And one area of focus is the workplace. Data from activist groups show that almost half of all harassment cases happen at work. And now in the past, most of Taiwan's companies were too small to be legally required to have formal anti-harassment measures. But these changes to the law will apply to companies with as few as 10 people compared to the previous 30. And so it's hoped that it will protect more people under this amendment.
So what's the response been to these changes? How are people reacting to them?
Well, some activists are worried that these amendments may actually have the opposite effect for some victims. These amendments will be more clearly defining sexual harassment. And for example, the head of the Modern Women's Foundation said that by laying it out this strictly, it might actually make it harder for some victims to seek legal assistance because the scope has become much more narrow. But with more pressure on the government to introduce protections because of Taiwan's widely reported Me Too movement last year, which involved some high-profile people, it's an important first step to protecting more people.
Thank you, Joyce. That was Joyce Dunn reporting live from Taipei on the new gender equality amendments. Also on International Women's Day, we take a look at how female migrant workers facing a tough life here in Taiwan dream of a better future for their children back home. Tiffany Wong has more.
Holding herself together, Francia Valderrama has been living as a migrant worker in Taiwan for 11 years. It's been tough on her body as she's toiled through jobs as a domestic caretaker and most recently as a factory worker. Her purpose? Supporting her 2 children in the Philippines.
I'm lucky to have my 2 children because they are not so like the other children that make the headache. They are actually my 2 children is the one who helping me to be more strong.
And she's needed to stay strong. Valderrama suffered abuse at the hands of a previous employer, and now she's suffering physical difficulties that have led to the need for surgery. All this has also taken a mental toll on her.
I got suicidal in my work because whatever I do, my energies cannot come back anymore. I got lost in my energy. I don't know where I'm going to hate because at the time, I want only to earn. I don't want to be a burden to my family because I have 2 kids.
But there are many other women in Valderrama's position. One study from a labor rights group found that 1 in 6 female migrant workers in Taiwan have experienced gender-based violence, with 90% of the incidents occurring in domestic care settings. Domestic workers, the majority of whom are women, are not covered under Taiwan's Labor Standards Act, which means requesting medical treatment or taking time off can put their jobs at risk.
Most of the employers and companies and brokers, they don't allow their women migrants to stay here to give birth, or not even being pregnant.
In 2019, the government created a hotline for migrant workers to report abuses and seek legal counseling. But advocates say many cases go unreported. Some say the government needs to do more to recognize the contributions of migrant workers and protect them and their jobs.
It is the migrant workers who toils in the factory. It is the migrant workers who care for the elderly and their wards so that they can have their own careers. So basically, it's the migrant workers who runs somehow the economy of Taiwan.
Thousands of migrant workers in Taiwan have made sacrifices to provide for their families. And women like Valderrama say they'll continue to fight for the rights of other migrants like themselves, who put themselves at risk far from home just for the chance to provide a better life for their children. Chris Ma and Tiffany Wong in New Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
Migrant workers here are also calling for an end to the broker system of recruitment through direct government-to-government negotiations.
We negotiate with employers to improve our working conditions. They choose to hire someone else. When our home countries request the Taiwan government to protect our rights, Taiwan government choose to bring in migrant workers from the other countries.
This comes after Taiwan agreed on a deal to import more migrant labor from India. Activists say they hope that this can be an opportunity for the government here to review the current system where intermediaries known as brokers recruit and assign migrant workers. But examples of abuse by brokers, including high fees and unfair treatment, those have sparked calls for change. Activists say direct recruitment between governments will help improve conditions. Lawmakers in Taiwan are raising concerns over security risks posed by the short video platform TikTok.
在抖音上面大肆流传说什么做票的这个假讯息很严重的儿少色情。
它不是普通的广告平台，它现在也被我们界定成危害产品，就是境外敌对势力可能可以实质控制的这个产品呢。
These comments in the legislature come after a U.S. congressional committee passed a bill that could effectively ban the app. TikTok has been accused of spreading disinformation ahead of Taiwan's recent elections, despite some candidates embracing it during their campaigns. Taiwan's traffic laws may soon get a controversial update. John Van Trieste has the details.
Every day, Taiwan's police get complaints from ordinary people about traffic violations, like illegally parked cars. It keeps police stations across the country busy, as this stack of reports shows. But this could be about to end. The cabinet has approved a change to traffic laws that would stop police from taking reports of 10 violations considered minor. These include offenses like driving while talking on the phone and parking on crosswalks. The point system will also get an update. Mandatory traffic safety classes for lawbreakers will stay, but drivers will be allowed up to 4 points a year before they have to attend, up from 2 now. The cabinet's ready to send the changes on to the legislature, but it says the amendments don't mean traffic laws won't be enforced.
轻微违规的这一个项目的一个部分的话，我们会在这一个就是条例送立法院审议的这个过程当中，我们同步会来这一个办理，会预告这个30天，大概30天的一个时间，让大家这个外界有充分意见的一个表达。
Some people, especially professional drivers, welcome the proposed changes.
违规不是合理的违规也不是对的，只是在任何的法定制定下面。其实都应该要考虑到每一个行业以及交通安全上面两边的一个平衡。
But other people are angry. Taiwan has a road accident death rate that's 8 times higher than countries like Japan, Germany, and the United States. The number of deaths and injuries on the roads keeps rising, breaking 540,000 last year. Even CNN has weighed in on Taiwan's poor road safety, calling the country a pedestrian hell in a 2022 article that sparked strong reactions. Traffic safety activists are upset at the cabinet for ignoring their concerns during meetings held as the changes were being drafted.
交通的环境是如此的危险，没有被改善，又要去开放这么多的违规行为，本身就非常不合理。但交通部却无视我们的抗议，还是执意要一意孤行。
They are now planning nationwide protests to push back at what they say are dangerous moves that will only make Taiwan's traffic woes worse. Ethan Pan and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
The American military will establish a temporary pier on the coast of Gaza to facilitate aid deliveries to the war-torn enclave as it is facing acute food shortages. U.S. President Joe Biden announced the emergency plan during his State of the Union speech, adding that it will not involve putting U.S. troops on the ground. The dock in the Mediterranean would be able to receive large shipments of food, water, medicine, and shelter, but the timeline for its construction is still unknown. This comes as the Biden administration faces increasing pushback for its support of Israel's war on Hamas. Biden used the State of the Union to reiterate Israel's right to defend itself, but he also said that he will continue to push for a ceasefire deal. And he said that a two-state solution is the only way to guarantee future security and stability in the region. Biden also called for peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait. He's also taken aim at China's unfair trade practices in the State of the Union address in D.C.
I've made sure that the most advanced American technologies can't be used in China, not allowing to trade them there. Frankly, for all this tough talk on China, it never occurred to my predecessor to do any of that. I want competition with China, not conflict.
At home, the president emphasized the need for protection of reproductive rights, and he vowed to increase border security, tackle gun violence, and harness the power of AI. On international issues, Biden pushed for more support for Ukraine in its war with Russia, something that is opposed by many Republican members of Congress. Haiti's government is extending a state of emergency for another month as violence continues to worsen there.
Je dis à situation pays en critique. Je dis à côté population pas capable de fonctionner, population pas capable manger, population petite population pas capable l'école, madame Sarah ou pas capable dans marché. Personne moun pas capable cycler dans pays.
An initial 3-day curfew was announced over the weekend after armed gangs trying to oust Prime Minister Ariel Henry stormed 2 prisons, freeing more than 4,000 inmates. Henry is currently stuck in Puerto Rico after Haiti's airport was attacked on Tuesday. Gangs have continued to assault police stations and other state institutions. Now people in the country report ongoing violence and shortages. Hong Kong has unveiled new draft laws with harsher penalties for national security offenses. The Article 23 bill includes life sentences for treason, 20 years imprisonment for espionage, and 7 years for sedition. If a foreign power is involved, that rises to 10 years. Critics have warned that these proposed laws could further restrict freedoms in the city, with vague definitions for what is an offense likely to stifle any opposition. Now, the law is expected to pass within weeks, as Hong Kong's overwhelmingly pro-Beijing Legislative Council has already begun debating the expedited bill. A key figure in the world of Japanese manga has died. Publisher Shueisha says the artist and creator of Dragon Ball, Toriyama Akira, died on March 1st at the age of 68. Shueisha says Toriyama died from acute subdural hematoma, or bleeding in the brain. Toriyama's first major success was his Dr. Slump series in 1980, before he started on Dragon Ball just a few years later. He worked on that franchise on and off over the decades and on dozens of others. He's also helped design characters for several video games, including Chrono Trigger and the Dragon Quest series. Taipei Zoo is home to a range of colorful creatures, but as John Van Trieste reports, some of the zookeeper's favorites are the blue ones.
These blue poison dart frogs are only around 5 centimeters in size, but they are among the most fascinating creatures at Taipei Zoo. They're native to South America, but they've adapted well to their new home, half a world away. Their name, in both English and Chinese, refers to the deadly poison they secrete.
南美洲以前那个土著嘛，他们会把那个他的皮肤的毒沾在那个箭，然后去打猎嘛，所以这就是因为这样子的关系，所以被称为叫箭毒蛙这样。
But in nature, the frog's poison is the result of their diet. Here at the zoo, they aren't fed the foods they would eat in the wild, so here they are harmless. The frog's unusual blue color is part of their attraction, but they aren't the only vividly blue creatures here. There are blue butterflies.
它是透明的，那上面会有很多鳞片，一片一片的叠在上面。然后它经过光照的话，你会看到有一些是物理色，然后有些是光的折射。 那就不一样，你可能正面看的时候它是黄色，然后你从不同角度看它会变成蓝色。
And other insects too, like this weevil. What unites all these creatures is the rarity of their color.
目前已知的这个拥有蓝色色素的这个脊椎动物，只有孤蓝箭毒蛙之外，还有另外2种这个枪鱼也同样拥有这个蓝色色素。那至于其他的这个蓝动物呢，其实都是假蓝色。对，它们主要是经由这个羽毛。 或者是鳞片或者是几鳞质，然后经过这个光线照射所产生的。
And that's why the critters in blue are the stars of the zoo. Klein Wang and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
Thanks again for joining us today for What's Up Taiwan. For more of our reports, follow us on social media. That's X, Facebook, or YouTube. And before we go, check out Dejari, a 3-week-old baby porcupine from Whipsnade Zoo in the UK. I'm Eric Gao. We'll see you later.